I'll let you read all this stuff, but here's the big thing that is the most important thing to me in this first part of this particular chapter on media. And that is this theoretical idea of framing. Comes from Irving Goffman, and we've talked about, well, Goffman is awesome. Everybody knows who Goffman is. He didn't play golf. That's a joke, that's stupid. But in any case, so people frame things, which it works like a picture frame. It's an interpretation of an event. I'm going to frame it this way, or I'm going to frame it that way. In the political world, we often call it spin. And if you spin, you win. If you win the spin, you win. So let's take a presidential debate. No matter how folks do, your side is always going to say you won. Oh, that was a brilliant performance, blah, 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 blah. That's a frame. I'm framing it this way. Or, better yet, take this, not better yet, just an additional example. Think about how there's been all that controversy over the various ban of travelers from certain countries in the Middle East. How do we frame this? Trump is framing it as something that is needed for national security. Others are framing it as issues of, of un-American racism. So it's perspective. Here is what's important here. Robert Entman and others have used frame analysis to study a wide range of current and political events. Scholars with a specific interest in sport have also turned to frame analysis, blah, 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 blah. In their study of Olympics coverage, Billings and Eastman discovered patterns that shape viewers' perceptions of individual and national identities. As they note, quote, what makes these results significant to society is that the potential impact of embedded biases about gender, ethnicity, and nationality goes beyond sports. Ways of thinking that are endemic to sports can frame unconscious thinking about racial and gender groups in non-athletic situations. Frames are not necessarily negative, however. Communication sport research does point to possible concerns about what is featured and what is omitted in media content. Basically, this is news, and that's traditional news. We're the news all over the place, but I'm thinking about traditional media news, like the stuff that you get on Sports Center, the stuff that you get on your local nightly newscast, the stuff that you read in the local papers, the stuff that you hear on the local radio, and the stuff that you read in magazines, all the sort of manifestations of traditional media. They frame or offer us an interpretation for how to look at certain things. They cover certain things in a particular way. It's also called, if you think back to news, it's called agenda setting, where they decide what to cover first, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. So, for instance, nightly newscast here locally. Who gets covered first? Can you see it? Can you see the nightly news? I'm naked. And now, Jason Munsell with sports. Hi, this is Jason Munsell with sports. The koalas were in town today, blah, blah, blah. We don't hear much about the koalas on the news. It's always the Gamecocks. Yeah, they're bigger, blah, 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 blah. More viewers, yeah, but still. And then, but who gets covered most? Male sports or female sports? It sort of depends. Obviously, the Gamecocks basketball team is, both of them are doing really, really well, but usually it's male sports. It is, obviously, football is king. So there's lots of things that are really interesting. So what I was thinking about is how the Super Bowl and aspects of the Super Bowl were covered. Some of you have written papers about this, but not the framing stuff. But what was perhaps the best part of the Super Bowl? Right, Lady Gaga. If you have not watched the full halftime show, it's pretty interesting. But what perhaps is even more interesting is what was anticipated and then how media covered it as being political or not political. and all that type of stuff. In fact, a lot of my day students didn't even think about, that political aspect of the halftime show until the media covered it as such. So what we have here is basically, oh, that's just that the Super Bowl rating slipped a little bit. There's Tom Brady. I just started thinking about the Brady Bunch. The Brady Bunch. He's got a bunch of trophies. Mrs. Brady died. All right. Okay, but so here's a guy from. Oh, actually, that didn't work. I forgot to create this as a link. I think I could probably do it. There we go. It's amazing how this stuff works. So this guy from the LA Times is sort of framing our interpretation of the Super Bowl, because Lady Gaga's Super Bowl show was only as political as you want it to be, but also at the same time you are, as journalist, even though this is a newspaper but it's online, you're framing the event as well. Look at Lady Gaga. Okay, so skinny. Get her a burger or something. So basically, one of the things that was really interesting is a lot of people wanted her to be more over the top, explicitly political in light of some of the things she's done previously, and in light of some of the things that Trump has done with his executive order. But she started with singing "God Bless America." She offered part of the national anthem, but she also sang "This Land Is Your Land," which is from Woody Guthrie, which was originally a protest song, if you don't know that. So there's some implicit stuff in there as well. And so he reviews this, saying that he didn't like it. She could have said or should have said something profound. So he frames it, this guy's Michael Wood, as something that she should not have done this. Others say no, it was good. It brought people together, and then perhaps there were some subtle things like the Woody Guthrie that others perhaps did not get. Where is it? Well, it talks about how some folks, were, and then she also sang "Born That Way." So there are lots of things going on in there. But long story short, and this is what's very important to me. It's a halftime show, but it's more than a halftime show. How do we know that? In part because of what it is, the context and everything like that, but also how media covers something as such. So it was covered as a political event, and therefore framed as a political event, and it became a political event. It was, but still. So, long story short, when we're thinking about media, and traditional media is still the driver of the bus, very, very powerful stuff. What I think is really, really interesting is not just the things, the events, not just the Super Bowl, not just the halftime show, not just a college football game, not just the Olympics, not just watching curling, not just whatever. It is also how it is covered, and how the coverage of that offers us a particular interpretation of those events, because those interpretations then give us, perhaps unconsciously, our own views or our own interpretations of those things. I hope that makes some sense. That's it. 20 minutes for you. I hope you have the opportunity to watch this at some point. I do look forward to to reading your papers, and look forward to seeing you Tuesday evening, and I will have more stuff up online at some point. It's a beautiful day, though. I'm going to go for a run, maybe just lay out or something like that. Okay, bye.